Welcome back, my fellow noir members. Today we will react to another Cole Hastings video. Why has nothing felt real since 2020?
Was the same as it had been for years. I was living with my parents, I hung out with my girlfriend a couple times a week, and I had a big bumper sticker on the back of my car that said, "Subscribe to my channel, Cole Hastings." Super cringe, but necessary cringe at the time. But little did I know that in less than a month, myself and everyone else in the world would experience the biggest cultural shift of our lives.
Authorities have reported 27 cases.
It's a new type of coronavirus.
One person coming in from China, and we have it under control. Officially announced that this is a global pandemic.
If you or anyone has one of those two symptoms, then you should stay at home for 14 days.
As of the time I'm recording this video, it's now been 4 years since we were locked inside and forced to interact with each other through our screens. And ever since then, there's a large consensus, specifically from young people, that time has sped up significantly and nothing feels very real anymore. Could this simply be a bad case of nostalgia, shrouding our ability to accurately assess the past, just like every previous generation? Or is there a significant difference in the way children are perceiving time now as opposed to children in the past? I'd like to explore that second question in this video. If you're like me, you probably have a vault of memories from your childhood that you can vividly recall. Like the time I got into a screaming match with my friend after a party in high school because I didn't fight a guy for insulting me to my face, or when I was 6 years old and I ran out my backyard door, pressed too hard on the glass window pane, and got this scar on the back of my right arm. These moments in time produced visceral emotions that enhanced my ability to remember them, and also they were moments that I had never experienced before. When our brains experience a novel situation in the form of a different environment or activity, it requires more neural resources to code, which then makes time feel slowed down. This is why your childhood might feel like it lasted a lifetime, or why a 7-day vacation might feel like a month. You had to record more data to your brain, and your brain therefore had to take down more mental notes during that specific period of time. That data also probably came with really intense emotional states, which only exacerbates your ability to form new memories. In short, the more novel experiences and memories you make, the longer that period of time will feel. Based off the science we already have to prove this, researchers hypothesized that people's recollection of the pandemic period would feel like an eternity due to the amount of new stories and headlines that were being bombarded at us at every moment. For instance, a lot of people share similar sentiments of knowing exactly where they were, what they were doing, and even what they were wearing when they heard that Kobe Bryant died, or when it was announced that George Floyd was killed. But what they found is that while people's recollection of their memories is stronger when emotions, and specifically negative emotions, are tied to them, the lockdown still compressed the perception of time due to the extreme monotony of our daily routines. During the lockdown, none of us were really experiencing anything novel or exciting. We can remember those negative traumatic moments in precise detail, but it still all feels like a blur because each of those details is just a speck in the canvas of time from 2020 to the present moment. This suggests that monotony has a greater impact on our perception of time than surprising news stories, and looking back on my life, I'd have to agree. But that still doesn't explain why this opinion of nothing feeling real since 2020 has been voiced primarily by young people. The obvious answer is that it's mostly young people who post online, and therefore the natural consequence will be that more young people will have a voice to amplify their thoughts about this. But I think it goes
That looked like a GTA right there.
much deeper than that. I think it has to do with our most important developmental stages. And what thing is better to have during your developmental stages than having someone like a professional therapist to talk to? And that is why I want to talk about today's sponsor, BetterHelp. There's so many things that are difficult to talk to with our friends that we don't feel comfortable talking to them about, or even our parents, and that's where a therapist can really be helpful. I actually went to therapy in late 2021, right before I came here to Austin, and I was going through a really tough mental time. Being able to talk without judgment to my therapist, have him provide solutions, was really helpful during that time. So what BetterHelp does is it connects you to a licensed professional who is trained to give you unbiased, helpful advice. You just go to their site and you can use my link betterhelp.com/Cole You answer a few questions, and then they'll match you to that professional who has years of experience helping people with struggles just like yours. And yes, you, I, and almost every other young person in this world all struggle with very similar things. You can do it all from your phone or computer, whether that's a phone call, video call, or messaging. Whatever's most comfortable for you, it's really the easiest way to get into therapy, and that's why I like it so much. You'll be matched to a therapist usually within 48 hours, so you can get started pretty much right away. And the best part about BetterHelp, I think, is that you can switch your therapist at any time for free. So I know that you might get matched to a therapist that doesn't really help at all. That is very likely with a platform this big. So if that happens, just switch your therapist for free until you find that therapist that really starts to help you. So if you're interested in trying BetterHelp all from the comfort of your own home, you can go to betterhelp.com/Cole, or you can choose my channel name, Cole Hastings, during sign up to get a special discount on your first month. Now let's get back to the video. During the ages of 15 to 21, you're going through what is commonly referred to as a coming of age. It's when you're no longer considered a minor and you're finally figuring out who you are and what type of path you want to carve out for yourself in the world. These are some of the most important years of your life, and I'm sure that anyone who is above these ages in 2020 can attest.
No, it's positive. Dang it. Yeah, coming of age, 15 to 21. You're trying to figure out who you are. But look, in reality, like, I see it this way. There is no who you really are. You make yourself the way you want to be. You choose to like new things. You choose to do new things. You choose to try new things. So in reality, there is no who you really are. You can always change if you really find out who you are.
To that. So imagine that during your most developing years, when your hormones are changing rapidly, you're just learning how to communicate, how to be competent, confident, and create useful skills, the entire world shuts down, and the most amount of interaction you get from your peers is through tiny boxes lined in multiple rows of a Zoom meeting. All the aspects that come with maturing, making friends, gauging emotional responses, being in a school environment, and cooperating with fellow humans are put on a halt. So another reason that everything feels like a blur and many young people feel like they're not truly living is because we all feel like we're making up for lost time. I actually asked people in my self-mastery school, which you can join by clicking the link in the description, their opinions on the blurriness of life since 2020, and one of them explained what I'm trying to explain here better than I ever could. At least for me, it feels like 2 years lost with nothing to show for it. 2 years spent, lost, stolen. I'm 24 now, 4 years later, but because I have so little memory of those 2 years, aside from a dark smear of fear, anxiety, depression, and loneliness, I barely feel older than I was then. I still feel 20, maybe 21, but I'm not. And I'm expected to act now that 24 years, which is not the same as how a 21-year-old acts. It makes me feel too young, too old, and like I slipped out of time, and when I came back to my life, the person expected to live it isn't inside anymore. Stolen, I think, is one of the best words for it. People in their teenage years and young 20s got their formative years stolen from them, and now they're making up for lost time. But making up for lost time is now harder than it should be because they didn't develop the skills that they were supposed to develop.
Oh, my like my knuckle, like one of my knuckles accidentally pressed the pause thing, so.
At that age. The best way I could put it, if I could sum it up into one sentence, is that we have a bunch of 16 to 18-year-olds trapped in 20-something-year-old bodies. And that disconnect between how old you are and how old you feel is greater than ever. Add that developmental postponement on top of the fact that it takes longer to become financially stable and afford things than in the past, which is clearly exemplified in how many more 20-year-olds are choosing to live with their parents, and we now have a society full of teens trapped in adult bodies. To clarify, I'm not saying you shouldn't live with your parents, and it doesn't always imply that you're going to mature less quickly if you.
If you're like live with, here, let me think here. Maybe, whoa, focus. Live with your parents until you find like a new good place where you want to live for a while, or just like go live with your parents if you're like gonna hang out with them for a while, or visiting them for like Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever. But that all happens. Come on, focus still.
You don't move out in your 20s, but there certainly is something to be said about how the pandemic contributed to more young people feeling like they're incapable of living without the guidance of a caretaker. What is also contributing to our perception of time speeding up is that quite literally everything is speeding up, and speeding up at a rate that we have never seen before. The rate we can get information has sped up. How quickly we can finish certain tasks has sped up. Technological advancements have sped up significantly, and before we can even learn about the new thing that everyone is talking about, the next version of it has already been released. But the type of information I want to focus on in regards to its speed is social media trends. You see, I think trends on social media affect our perception of time much more than we think. For example, if we look at the early days of YouTube, let's say 2005 to 2008, it felt like a video could trend for years. If you're an OG YouTube fan, you might remember the Numa Numa guy, Charlie Bit My Finger, or Chocolate Rain. These cataclysmic moments
Charlie
in
bit my
YouTube
finger.
history
Someone
established a
told me that
category of
one time
viral trends that define
back
that
when I
time
was
period.
in
I don't know
10th
what
grade.
exactly we would call that time period, and I'm sure if I did some scouring on the internet,
Oh
I could
god, my
find an
same
exact
knuckle. Like
real
my
name. But
pinky
for the sake of
knuckle
this video, let's
nearly
just call it the
positive
low
again.
quality meme slash funny videos era. Now, according to the guy who officially uploaded the Numa Numa dance video, the original upload was on sites like YouTube and Newgrounds from December 6th, 2004
What?
to 2006. That probably means that for 2 entire years, the Numa Numa guy video was relevant on the internet. Another time period a lot of you might remember that established its own category was the MLG era. This is when we had over-edited videos with the hit marker sound, Snoop Dogg doing that one dance, that
Oh
guy
yeah,
that says, wow, then winks,
yeah.
and little kids
Chop it like
screaming out Modern
tall.
Warfare 2.
Same.
I decided to do some investigation through the YouTube search, and what I found was that these types of meme videos were relevant from 2013 all the way to 2015. Again, a time period where an internet trend could be relevant for 2 entire years. Now let's compare that to today. Thanks to what I believe is the biggest culprit for rapidly changing trends, short form content, I feel like we have a new meme slash trend category every month or even every week. Last month it was that LeBron James screaming meme.
LeBron James.
Scream if you love Super Mario 64!
That's not copyright. Don't worry. Well, I'll turn it down just in case it's copyright. Okay, it's over
About
now.
people losing aura. These trends have to keep up with how rapidly we are processing and learning new information now. Every trend feels like a new period of time on the internet, and it's as if we are experiencing a new category of trend that used to last like 2 years every week or month now, which is wild. I might be kind of exaggerating this. I don't know, that might be a stretch, but you cannot deny that our perception of time has to be quicker because everything else in our environment is moving quicker. I'd also love it if somebody conducted a study where we had two groups of people, and both groups had the exact same routine, but the first group did their entire routine while surrounded by people, while the second group did that entire routine in complete isolation.
Okay, so this right here is independent, and this is working with team. I myself am independent, but if people need help or I'm gonna work with like a person or two people or a group, a team, whatever, I can do it. We all have to adapt. So if we're used to being independent, we gotta do this at times. If we're used to working with people, we gotta be independent at times.
I bet there's something related to time perception there, because I also think being surrounded by people more often helps us to solidify an identity and a stable personality, thus solidifying the idea of time better. Simply put, I think being around people contributes to the idea that you actually exist and aren't some vague entity. And you already know we aren't seeing people in real life as much anymore. So that leads me to the most important parts of these types of videos. The parts of these videos that historically have been the time in the video
That
where
looks so
people decide to
realistic.
click off the phone. The part where I actually try to provide a solution. And I find it hilarious that once I'm done saying all the negative things, people are like, oh, he's going to actually try to fix this for us? Okay, I'm going to log off. And I can see this because YouTube shows me in the audience retention. So how about you don't click off? Like most of our modern issues, the solution revolves around reintegrating into the real world as much as you can and creating more novel experiences. Yes, this is much more difficult than when you were a kid because now you need some sort of stability just to survive in your day-to-day life, but you gotta plan more
Focus. There we
things
go.
that are unlike anything you've experienced before. This could be going to a concert, joining a club, going on a hike, seeing a movie, planning a boys or girls trip. Anything that shakes things up for a little while and will produce a big emotional reaction within you will help establish a clear sense of identity. I know we're all victims of the pandemic and the government fucked us up real bad. What else can you do? And here's something else that the researchers of that study I mentioned earlier found in regards to your blurred memories during the pandemic. If the memories of the past and all you went through during the pandemic have caused you to suppress that part of your life and keep it a blur, which you might not even be consciously aware of, you can actually let it stop haunting you in the present through something called episodic memory induction. This is the process of recalling specific details from memories of the past using something like journaling or talking to a therapist or a friend. So the one thing you might need to get that absolute clarity on what happened to you during those pandemic years is to lay out exactly what happened to you and try to recall it in as much detail as possible with someone else or outside of your brain. Because if you try to figure it out in your brain, it's just not going to work. Going off of this, I actually recommend that you start to journal nightly right before bed. I personally just write a one-page recap of what went on that day and how I felt to make the recalling of my past much easier, which makes it feel real and longer as a result. And if you find that you don't have much to write about or you're experiencing a string of days where you keep writing the exact same thing, that's a great sign that you should go experience more novelty soon. Be more open to new experiences and accept any opportunity that requires you to break out of your daily routine, at least for a little while. And eventually, life will start feeling as vivid as it was before 2020. Would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. I have a free self-improvement community if you want to talk about topics like this and discuss solutions to modern day problems. The link is in the description to that. And if you like my video essays where I talk about modern issues, I have a whole playlist
Oh, look at
about
that.
them
There's
right here. Go check them out. Maybe they'll
Patrick
help and
Bateman
provide
from
more
American
solutions to you.
Psycho.
I'm leaving. Goodbye. Go do some novel shit. Peace.
And I am back. Here, I'll copy him. And I am back. My channel is not dormant. It can be dormant for a while. Go be whatever, like go be something, but also do other things. Remember that we're all capable of liking, doing, trying, and experiencing new things, and more knowledge, etc., etc. Goodbye for now. Peace out, my fellow Noir members.